any kind of home brewer, that's all you sort of aspire to brew, isn't it? Something that's, palatable, bearable, something that tastes actually decent and you wouldn't mind paying a few quid for is a bonus, and even better. Hello, welcome back for another beer review. Well, a brew day and a beer review. Brewing and reviewing, we'll call it. So this one is a West Coast style inspired pale ale, I suppose you could call it. It's brewed with Kveik yeast. First time trying that, which big fan of. Really fast fermentation. I'll get it poured and then we can a little run through the recipe and have a little taste. It has been sat around a little while in the fridge, and I've got a 5 litre keg still in the fridge in the garage, which was meant to be the summertime drink, but just never got around to it really. Some bit of fizz, some chunky bubbles there, good head. Still smelling fairly fruity and juicy. So, Kveik yeast, it's like I say, West Coast style. It's a West Coast inspired pale ale, we'll call it. The malts used, we had Vienna malt and Maris otter, so 1 kilogram of each. And for the hops, there was mainly Cascade and Columbus, used at 60 minutes and 30 minutes, and then again at the 10-minute mark, but then with a little bit of Nelson Sauvin thrown in. So that's why it's a West Coast inspired and not a sort of true to style, because we've got some Nelson thrown in there. So a small amount on the 10-minute mark, and then we did some dry hop with Nelson and Cascade, basically because I wanted to use the Nelson up. It'd been in the freezer for what was getting on for what I thought a little bit too long, needed to use it up. I thought I'll just chuck it in here. So let's have a look. The head's disappearing a bit quickly there, isn't it? I'm hoping once I carbonate the keg up, it's going to be a decent head on it for a whole pint. But as I say, this bottle's been sat in there for a while. I have had a few of the other bottles, most of the other bottles, and I give some to Aaron as well. So let's get some aroma. Bit of a piney, slight piney, bit of a juicy notes going on. Do we have a taste? Ooh. There's a freshness, like a clean, fresh, refreshing, sort of juicy flavour. I get a slight little bit of pine, some sort of green, grapey type, grapefruit even. A little bit of a bitter finish and a bit of a let's say maybe a licorice sort of twang, maybe from the Columbus. I used Columbus once before in an extract brew that I'd made, and I made like a hop tea with it, and I don't think I did it very well. I think I got some tannins in there, and anyway, I loaded it up at the dry hop stage, thinking this is going to add something interesting to this sort of extract kit that I brewed, and I didn't like it. It was an American pale ale style kit, and I don't know whether it was the kit or what I'd done with the dry hopping and making that sort of hop tea, but it wasn't good. It was too sort of astringent taste, too bitter, too much. But this one, obviously much better. It's got that nice sort of fruity, juicy sort of green grape flesh, grapefruit, slight bit of pine, and on the back end, a bit of bitterness, a bit of licorice maybe. I'm not a massive fan of licorice, but it's very slight, which is quite nice in this. Yeah, but that sort of green grape, white grape, we've not used a huge amount of Nelson. 5 grams at 10 minutes and 15 grams in the dry hop, whereas the Cascade have got 10 grams at dry hop and 10 at 10 minutes, 5 at 30 minutes, and 7 at 60 minutes. So there's a bit more Cascade in there, a bit more going on. There is a fruity edge to it. A bit more of the juicy sort of maybe tropical side of fruits. But yeah, really good. Like I say, Vienna malt, Maris Otter, did it a brew in a bag, 15 litres I did, bottled a load, day 4, so 4 days it took for bottling, and you've got to account for a bit of dry hop in there as well, so it probably could have gone after 3 days, really, with the Kveik yeast. It was really good. I've still got like a little bit of the pack left. It's not enough to make a full brew. I don't know if I want to get everything out and make a mess for the sake of a small batch. But I'll definitely brew this again. Might not bother with the Nelson next time. Might just go all American hops. Or we could skip out the Columbus and Cascade and we could go all English hops, couldn't we? And just do a fast fermenting Kveik regular pale ale. Looks good. Tastes better. Glad I kept hold of that really for a review. Obviously, I've got some footage from the brew day. Me in the garage with a brew in a bag, with the malt miller electric kettle, which I've got to say I was slightly dubious about, and I really would have liked to have jumped straight into one of the all-in-one kits, like the Grainfather or something similar. So, like I say, slightly dubious, but I've used it. It works perfectly fine, especially for what I'm brewing. It's that little step up from doing kit brews and extract brewing. You can mess about with your own flavors, your hop additions and timings and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I've been pleased with that kit. It fits perfectly, sort of a 1-barrel type system in the garage for the space I've got at this moment in time. So yeah, can't ask for much more on that one. And it's producing some decent beers. I mean, that, and if I may say so myself, that tastes better than any kit I've brewed. It could be up there with some beers I've paid money for. And I think as any kind of home brewer, that's all you sort of aspire to brew, isn't it? Something that's, palatable, bearable, something that tastes actually decent and you wouldn't mind paying a few quid for is a bonus and even better. So, yeah, not bad. And like I say, after Christmas, heading into spring, might try it again, but play about with the hops. And then what's coming up before Christmas, hopefully, I've got the malt up there and the yeast, as well as the hops, to do a lager pilsner. Now the weather's just started to cool a little bit, it might be the perfect time to brew that in terms of temperatures for the yeast. Although I'm going to use an overlager yeast, which I've seen can go up to sort of 20 odd degrees and still ferment out with no off flavors or anything like that. So that's the reason why I got that for an easy brew. So that's going to be the Pilsner Urquell style or inspired. And then in the run up to Christmas, I am really tempted to do a classic bitter or a even sort of Boddington, the old recipes that are floating about with Boddingtons. I might try one of them. But Christmas wouldn't be Christmas without a homebrew stout, so I've got to try and brew a stout as well. I don't think I'll be able to get them both done in time. And that's a lot of bottling, and trying to store the bottles as well is a bit of a pain. So maybe I'll just do the stout and have a play about with a brew in the bag stout, which would be interesting. And then next year we'll look into the Boddingtons. But I'll bring all them to you. And coming up soon as well will be the review of the Philly sour yeast and the Scafell sour I made, the mixed berry sour. So that one's coming next as well. And until then, cheers.